CTX Nation, HansenCTX here with another episode on some maintenance. It's time to put the wheel back on the bike. Just got a brand new tire put on the rear. So, here we go. How do you put the rear tire back on your CTX1300 Deluxe? As we prepare for this wheel installation, just a couple reminders about the tools that you're probably going to need. First thing you're going to need is a wrench. You might also need a breaker bar just in case. Always have it around. You just use it to take it off. You'll need your 8mm Allen Hex Wrench and your 5mm Allen Hex Wrench. You'll also need a 12mm socket and your 27mm socket for the axle nut. You'll need a grease gun with some grease so that you can properly lubricate the gear for the rear wheel. You'll need some anti-seize for parts that come on and off frequently. I like to put anti-seize as a lubricant on the axle. Helps slide in and helps for removal. You also want some Threadlocker Loctite for bolts that you do not want to come loose. I use this particular one because it is removable. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I think it's around 110 foot-pounds of torque in order to break this stuff. So it's just good enough. Obviously, torque wrenches. Everything will be torqued down to spec according to the Honda maintenance or shop manual for this machine. And this special tool, this is a 17mm hex Allen wrench. This works great on the axle when you put it on the bike and you need to tighten it down before cinching down this pinch pin. First, apply 5 grams or about 0.18 ounces of moly paste to the joint surface of the final gear case, and then the drive flange splines. Next, align the final gear case and the driving flanges, the splines here. They'll line up with the inside of this. So, gotta slide the tire in. To reinstall the collar. I cleaned it from the removal, and remember the collar goes on the left side of the bike. Reinstall the brake caliper. Remember, we had the brake caliper tied to the bike, so now I'm going to untie it. And I didn't say this in the prior video, but I tied it to the arm that holds my saddlebag. The brake caliper is going to want to go right here. And then I'm going to put the washer between the brake caliper, the swing, well, not the swing arm, the frame. Now I'm going to reinstall the rear axle. Before I put it on, I'm going to take some anti-seize, run me a short bead, spread it with my finger, again I'm using this as a lubricant to help me move this through the bike. Next, you'll want to install the rear caliper, brake caliper stopper. And just so you know, I didn't show it in the old video. It goes right here, goes through here. Now, the manual says to replace this whole piece. I'm not going to do that today, so I'm going to take my brush here and I'm going to scrape off all the old Loctite that was inside these threads, get it clean, and then I'm going to put in new Loctite and reinstall. To reinstall this stopper pin bolt, you'll need your 8mm Allen wrench, an extension, and a torque wrench set to 51 foot torque pounds. So, I'll put on my Loctite. Now we install the washer and rear axle nut. For this you need a 27mm socket. This socket needs to be tightened down to 72 foot-pounds of torque. 72 foot-pounds. You need your 17mm Allen wrench to put inside this part of the axle, because you can't tighten down the axle to spec without it. Next, tighten the rear axle pinch bolt, which is a 12mm socket, to 21 foot-pounds. HansenCTX doing my rear maintenance here. Want to get you a shot of what temperature it is. Outside and in my garage it's 103.5. This has been a very hot, very steamy job. Reinstall brake pads, or new brake pads, if you've already done that. Apply silicone grease to the tip of the brake caliper pin. You may or choose or may not choose to do this, but I like to apply a little bit of Loctite on this pin. Retighten this brake pad pin to 13 foot-pounds of torque. 13 foot-pounds. Insert the little rubber cover on the brake caliper pin. Make sure it's seated. Push on it a couple of times. Manual suggests to operate the rear brake pad a couple of times to seat the brakes. Give it a spin. Spin and operate the brake. Well, it stops the tire. Next, you'll want to reinstall the license plate shroud. You'll need a socket wrench, an extension, and a 5mm Allen wrench. Takes 4 bolts. There's a little lip right there that hooks in between the LED light and the top, so it's got to go straight up first. and then up. At this point, you might want to walk around the bike and double check all of your fittings and make sure the torque specs are there, and then clean up any spots you might want to clean up. And then after that, reinstall the saddlebags. Wheel is installed. I just finished cleaning the rear wheel as well. Everything around it is nice and polished. Wanted to make sure everything was up to spec in regards to the torque specifications all the way around. Now all I got to do is clean up all my tools, pull everything away. I'm going to probably test ride the bike with the rear wheel up and down the street in my neighborhood before I put my saddlebags back on. I'd hate to have to find a reason to take them off again. Although I might not put them back on for a week because I kind of like the way the bike looks without them. Alrighty guys, well this is how I put my rear wheel off, or take my rear wheel off and put my rear wheel back on. See the other video, part 1, if you want to see how I took it off. I got a brand new Metzler 250/17 on the rear. That's the Metzler M880 Marathon. Great tire. Okay, I got to stop yapping and I need to go out riding. HansenCTX, peace out.